Social media has been around for more than a few decades, but many people and companies continue to fail to succeed in their efforts. Is social media more of an art or a science? We're going to discuss the science of going viral on this episode of Today in Tech. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Joining me today on the show is Dustin York. He is an adjunct professor at the University of Florida, and Dr. York is the teacher of a class called The Science of Going Viral, part of their communication program at the school. Welcome to the show, Dustin.
Keith, thank you so much for having me. I hope to change your way of thinking of social media and what college is offering nowadays. I'm excited to get into it.
Well, this is definitely better than the stories I hear of the classes that teach about Taylor Swift, or those types of classes, or you feel like those are the easier classes. Your class is not easy, right?
I hope to keep your respect by the end of this. By the end of this conversation, I hope to keep your respect. Absolutely. We'll talk about how to beat the algorithm on TikTok, Instagram, and such.
All right. Cool. And so, talk about the origins of the class. What were you seeing in the space that led you to the creation of this? Because you're currently in your second go round of this class, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So talk about how this started and why you thought, this would be a great college level course to teach.
Yeah. So first, I'm super into kind of breaking the mold. This is an online class, so the students aren't in the class. So I'm always thinking about how can we bring that energy to an online environment, new skills, new things the industry is asking for. And this idea of content creation and having content that gets 1 million views. Obviously, that's something that hasn't been taught in college, right? It's always been social media campaigns and building a following slowly and whatnot. So is this idea, how can we make this online class different? I brought in what I like to call them my celebrity friends. They would call me acquaintances, but they're like Mark Cuban, the Savannah Bananas, and they shot these videos to make it like a unique class. And we tried it, right? It's basically an entire course, 16 weeks. Can you go viral? And there's all the tricks and tactics behind it. And Keith, I got to tell you, all right, the first offering of this class, I was a little nervous because us professors, we always feel like we're super smart, right? But there's no real world data to show whether your learning in the classroom is real or not, right? It's like, just trust me, 5 years from now, you'll use these leadership skills or whatever the class is, right? Well, this class was not the case. The students were actually trying to go viral in the class. So the data was going to tell us if the class worked or it didn't work.
Okay.
And a number of our students got 1 million views. So it was a great first offering.
Yeah.
Sure.
So talk about the makeups of the students in the class. Do they all want to become content creators, influencers, or is there a mix of people that just want to learn the concepts that you're teaching and apply that to maybe some other role when they graduate? Again, I'm just going to give you a personal story. My son is currently a senior in high school, and he's looking at colleges, and he wants to go into marketing, but he doesn't know exactly what marketing yet. So he wants to do sports marketing, but there's also a digital marketing component about it. And I think that classes like yours are going to be part of a digital marketing degree at some point. So, where do you see these, or are these people more like my youngest daughter who wanted to become a YouTube influencer when she was 12 because she got a couple of viral hits, and then she realized how much hard work it was going to be and gave up on that dream, and now she wants to do something else.
I tell you, Keith, I'm still waiting for my YouTube channel to blow up as well. So I'm right with your daughter. So when I came into the class, my thought was, okay, I'm going to get a lot of like your daughter. I think I was going to get a lot of influencer wannabes and whatnot and build it. And there were some, but if anecdotally, after that first offering, and we just started the second offering now, I would say it's about a 30-70 split, where 30% are those, I want to be a content creator. I want that. They love the camera. They love that sort of the talent behind it.
Yeah.
But 70% is more like your son. It is, okay, I want to learn the content creation so I can go do it for Oreos or ESPN or any other brand. The majority of students are on that side and using this as a testing vehicle to get to that point.
Right. He wants to actually do it with a sports team. Right now with the Celtics, that's his big team right now. So I think that's the direction he wants to go. But again, being part of almost behind the camera or behind the concepts and coming up with ideas around that. All right. So when you're teaching the class, how is that concept of virality? Has it changed over the last 10 to 15 years, considering that, there have been changes in the platform? YouTube is now 20 years old. Facebook is 20 plus years old. new platforms such as TikTok and Instagram. I think those are now where we're seeing most of the things that go viral. Are there other platforms that we haven't even seen yet, or that haven't gone viral as a platform yet? Like how much has the concept changed? Because it used to be just you take a video of someone like tripping down the stairs, and it's almost like America's Funniest Videos. But that's not really what does that still go viral, or is there more specific things that go viral these days than in the past?
Yeah, so old school ways of like YouTube viral videos. I mean, Keith, if you had a viral video on YouTube, where even 10 years ago, you were going to get a book deal. You were going to be on TV. You were going to get a board game, right? There's all these board games now of people who went viral 10 years ago. That was a big situation. Now, no. I mean, you can get 1 million views and not be something the next week, right? You can get them all right then, and it's all gone to that point, that TikTok, that Reels. Obviously, YouTube is still there. It's more difficult, though. It's much more difficult to really go viral on something like YouTube.
Right.
And we talk about that in our class, right? Where we're on TikTok, on Reels. We had one student get 12 million views, and she was like, "Oh my goodness!" She was working at this law firm, and she created this content for the law firm. What do we do now? And that's what we talk about on our classes. If you go viral on TikTok, that doesn't equate to sales. It doesn't equate to new traffic coming in, like perhaps old school sort of YouTube virality.
Yeah,
you really have to, from the very beginning, think about what is our strategy if we were going to go viral. And we talk about this in class. What does the page look like? What does your bio look like? What links do you have? So when you actually, get to that rainbow road at the end, they have the next step, that call to action at the end. We have to plan that from the beginning, not just like, oh, shucks, I went viral. Now what?
Right.
We have that pre-planned. And I think to your point, what's next? I'm a big fan of this. I'm a huge fan of, it is hard to go viral on something that the competition is super high, right? YouTube was super high. That's why for many years it became very difficult to create a presence. Early days TikTok, it was easy. It was incredibly easy to really go viral because the competition was so low. Today, what I'm looking at, all right, if I'm trying to hack the system, I'm going to overemphasize Reels. The views are on Instagram Reels, but the competition is lower on Reels.
Yeah.
LinkedIn video, again, the competition is super high. I'll give you one that you haven't heard of.
Okay.
Most colleges around the university, they'll recognize this one. Fizz. There's this app Fizz that it's on college campuses.
Fizz.
Fizz. It's just for college campuses. It's a less toxic version of Yik Yak or other anonymous apps of the past. But there's things, I mean, you get posts with hundreds of engagement as soon as you post, but Fizz may go away in a year.
Yeah.
But we should think about is what's coming next? How can I put a flag in that new app before the competition is super high?
Yeah, and
that's what I was thinking about.
I think that's a really important point. Is that the goalposts seem to keep moving. Again, 1 million views 10 years ago was probably huge, but now 1 million, like you said, is not interesting, or is you're just at this level at 1 million versus you would have been a star 10 years ago. I remember the other a few months ago I was watching the Rose Bowl parade. And they had an influencer as their correspondent at the Rose Bowl parade, and this girl was a singer, singer-songwriter, YouTube influencer, whatever. Millions of I have 1 million followers, and I had never heard of her. Now I'm not in that demographic again, but even if I was, I'm not sure if I would have heard them. I think I asked my kids. I go, "Have you ever heard of this person?" And they were like, "Nope." Like, so again, getting in order to are people ever going to get to that Mr. Beast, Joe Rogan level at this point, or do they have to go find those new platforms?
I think there'll still be those in general. I think it's going to be much more difficult, though, only because almost think of it this way. Those Joe Rogans, the Mr. Beasts, it's almost like traditional old school TV when we had 4 channels to watch, right? ABC, NBC, Fox. When cable came around, I mean, the diversification exploded. Now, did ABC, NBC, they go away? No, we're still going to have a couple of those big, but there's going to be hundreds of channels on cable that you've never heard of ever. And it's going to connect to me, who I really like hip hop and pickleball, right? And those, I get those content creators that are into hip hop, but you'll get someone completely different. Even in my college classes, to your point of this kind of, well, the youth know everyone. No, I'll ask my college students, what are the influencers that you're following? And it's across the board. People in the room the same age as them at the traditional college age, they haven't heard of these other influencers that others are following. So this idea of the change of attention, it's only going to expand. Only going to expand.
Yeah. So does that mean if you want to become one of these viral influencers or viral content creators, that you have to become super targeted in your niche? I mean, do you have to get very, very, you can only talk about one thing? Like, that's a problem for me because I love talking about technology, but that's a broader that's a broader thing. Like, should I just go and say, I'm only going to talk about AI and I'm never going to talk about social media. I'm never going to talk about security. I'm never going to talk about these things and just focus in on, I'm only going to talk about, I'm going to do 300 videos just on AI, for example. There's certainly enough content out there. But then on the other hand, I'm also a dad. I also love video games. I love comic book movies, and comic books. Like, I want to be a generalist, but I don't think I could succeed as a generalist in this online world anymore. Like, do people ask you about this when they're thinking about who should I be?
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about Keith, I'm trying
not me personally, but like when a student comes up and goes, I have all of these interests, and again, I'm a well-rounded person because I have these interests.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I would never become, I don't think I'll become an influencer because like my chain, sometimes I want to talk about, comic books, and lately I've been into Japanese anime with my youngest daughter. I was like, well, there's probably about 1 billion other influencers out there that are talking about that show that we watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. We always talk about we kind of build out the brand. So the idea that your content, the topic that you talk about, if that's the thing, if I could tell you, here's the topic you're going to go viral on, everyone in the world is going to make content about that one topic. So there's no golden rule about a piece of topic, especially when the vast majority of content creators aren't actually creating anything new as far as they're not journalists. They're not out there actually interviewing new people. They're just repurposing information that's already out there, which is absolutely fine. What it comes down to.
Oh, that irritates the hell out of me though, Dustin, because
I hear you.
Because I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to have interviews with new people, and then someone can be like, well, I'll just make a video reacting to that and I'll get more views than everybody else.
And that's what it comes down to is how do you package it?
Yeah.
Right? How do you package it? They're not going to listen to your AI information. I can get that AI information anyway. They want to hear Keith's take on AI or how he packages that element of AI in some unique format. That's the big turning point, right? So when we talk about building your brand out, that you like all these, these different things, your dad, you like all these things. Awesome. I love it. We do try to keep, at least to get that ball moving, to get that initial snowball, one general topic to be around. So then it kind of hits the algorithm that we can talk about the algorithm if you want, but we get that ball moving. Once we have that moving, we want those little pieces. Think of like Alex Earl, like all these like big time influencers of Call Her Daddy, all these different big ones. They start with a main topic, but we fall in love with the person. I don't care what that person talks about. I'm going to care about mental health, because that was one thing she got into one day. Like that can spur from there, but it comes back to how do you package it? What is your brand? How do you talk about that conversation? Like I can see your enthusiasm. I want to see that in short form content. That's where we're thinking about as far as brand.
All right. So it's a mixture of long form plus short form then. Like what we're doing now is we take our long form interviews and we try to make them into short form to make them interesting, to get people interested in, at least in me or, the guests, for example.
Yeah, so this is I'll give you something tactical right now.
Okay.
When we think about TikTok and Reels, which is the majority of content that is consumed, 61% of content as of this year is short form vertical video, TikToks, right? But you're not going to build a big following on TikTok because whoever swipes over to the following tab. Mm-hmm. I never do that. It's the For You tab, right?
Right.
So what we would do is, we have short clips, 60-second clips. And all of our clips on TikTok, they're all going to drive to our long form content, whether that's YouTube, Substack, whatever that is. It's a two-step approach. I don't care how many followers I have on TikTok, to be completely honest. It doesn't matter anymore. Get the views on there, drive them to YouTube, something else. That's the play. That's the tactic.
All right. And so do you think a lot of the people that come into the class or the companies that you might work with, do they come in and they feel like they don't know this or they don't understand the platform that they want to do? They just be like, I just want to be like so-and-so, on on YouTube and don't understand the algorithm, don't understand a lot of these strategies.
Yeah. So that I talked to a lot of companies specifically, and they want give me the assignment, give me the hacks, give me the play-by-play. I'll give that to my person, and they'll go be viral somewhere. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really work that way. So let's break it down, right? So here's the stuff you want to hear. Are there quote unquote hacks? Sure, that's not going to just go viral, but we do know some things, like easy things you can just Google, like the first 3 seconds of your video are essential, right? Having audio that's trending. So you can go to like TikTok Discovery, just Google search it, and they'll show you what hashtags are currently trending, what songs are currently trending. You use those things, all right? So there are these hacks, but the big portion of it is going to be your strategy, right? Are you genuine about what you're doing, or are you just trying to clickbait, random hashtags, random audio? You're just trying desperately to get these views. That's the hard part.
Like
right?
I call that the chasing the trends, or the hello fellow kids, trend, where a company will come in and go, well, I'm seeing the trend of a bunch of Gen Z people talking about, the one that irritates me is the one where they describe what they're wearing. It's like, for me, it would be like hoodie and a pair of jeans, and and then they're doing that. I could never do that because that doesn't feel genuine to me. And obviously anybody watching me do that would be like, oh, you're faking it, or you're a poser. Oh God. And just the fact that I use the word poser shows how old I am. So I wouldn't be genuine. I want to be as genuine as I can. But on the other hand, my college age daughter, who's in a theater program at the moment in college, does do these types of things because that at least feels more authentic for that group. So I guess maybe it just depends on your age and stuff. But I feel like a lot of companies are like, oh, well, this went viral, we should do something like that. And then someone goes, well, that was viral, 3 months ago. Like the time that you have to actually jump on a trend is minuscule, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. If you're doing the kind of with like the trend hacking or trend jacking, you have to move super quick before it moves on to something else. But even think to your point of what's genuine for you. So if I'm thinking like, is Keith going to necessarily do the fit check and whatnot? No, but I would think about it this way. I would think about this. Can we have an intern of yours be a figure on the TikTok channel? So on your channel, it's about you, your content, etc. But then there's Dustin over here, who is your college intern, and Dustin makes content connecting specifically to Gen Z, or that population of that challenge. Doesn't mean it changes your brand whatsoever. It's different content, because guess what? How the algorithms work now, it's not YouTube algorithms where I watch the content of Mr. Beast because I love Mr. Beast. On Keith's content, I may only see 10% of the stuff you post out because the algorithm says this is in your demographic, right? So I'll see your intern stuff, while someone else will see more of your more professional interviews and content that way. You can diversify that content.
Dustin, I love the fact that you think I have an intern. I guess that's my first goal, is to find, to actually get a college intern in here to help me go viral. It's a lot of me and Chris, basically the guy behind the camera, that are doing a lot of this stuff. So, do you think that if companies are watching this and they're, you're seeing these hurdles and they're being warned, you have to be authentic. Do you think that we might start seeing companies just end up buying them? And I think the example I used when we talked before the show was where ESPN hired Pat McAfee, because Pat McAfee was he was the hot new thing in the sports world, and he had his own podcast, and ESPN is like, we're not going to try to replicate that. We'll just bring them in. Do you see this going to start happening a lot more? But I also see a lot of these influencers fail when they get brought onto traditional media too. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Here's the issue that a lot of companies they struggle with, is they want to create an influencer. They want to create this big brand, like, hey, this is our person. You're super charming in these meetings, right? Oh, you're the person, right? You do well on our internal videos. You're extroverted. That doesn't work. That doesn't work whatsoever. It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks, just guessing completely. Instead, what's more efficient of those resources of that brand is one of two things. One, we go out and we purchase that, right? That attention. We bring on a Pat McAfee. We work with influencers, right? With this collaboration effort. Or we do this, which a lot of companies are scared of. If we are Walmart and we find that we have an employee in Minnesota who is 17, who works at Walmart making some trick shot, breaking down boxes in the back room.
Yeah.
That creates content. We reach out to that person and how can we pour gasoline on this? How can we give you more? How can we buy you lighting? What do you need to make content? We try and pour gasoline on that. We try to find what's already genuinely moving in that direction. I'll give you an example. Lil Nas X. Do you know who Lil Nas X is? He was like real big for a couple years.
Was he the one that did Old Town Road? Was that him?
Old Town Road.
Yep. All right. I do remember that.
So Lil Nas X changed music.
Okay.
Right? And this is the example of how companies do it today, where Lil Nas X had a huge social media following before music. He made memes.
Okay.
Right. So he made memes. He was big in social media. And then he had the one song, Old Town Road, and it blew up. These albums, these record labels now are looking for artists who already have a following. We don't want to build your following for you anymore.
Okay.
These records, right? We don't want to build it from scratch. Go to Nashville and you'll find many people who are amazing musicians. We want musicians who already have a following because Lil Nas X really changed that trajectory for everyone. The company should see the same thing. We shouldn't think about how can we build this employee's following from scratch, a new anchor on ESPN. No, show us you can do it on your own.
Yep.
Then we'll help you pour gasoline on it. We'll give you resources. We'll give you people to help. If you prove you can do it with no budget.
Yeah.
That's how you should really think now.
And so does that that's amazing. So a traditional person like me, I'd have to hire people that already have a following rather than trying to teach them something that I have no idea what I'm doing half the time.
Or Keith, you just get,
and I'll give them the resources with this cool background.
Or you just make 16 pieces of content a day until
something hits. No, I mean, again, my favorite part of the show is when I'm getting to talk to guys like you and experts out there that, again, I feel like my strength is just having these conversations and then, trying to figure out if we can make something that people want to listen to and be educated about. So, another one is this just a young person's game? Is it, can you be over 40 and do this, or does it become more of an uphill struggle? Not because, I think most people over 40 are still genuine. They can still be genuine, but and avoid those traps of just, following the trends. I certainly think that they wouldn't do that, but it feels like a lot of the top influencers you see there are celebrities that, made it in other formats. Like, again, Joe Rogan was a stand-up comedian and an actor, and before he became this podcast superstar, is there still some way for an unknown to become, famous within this realm?
Oh yeah,
but and then when we say famous, how famous are we talking about? Like, there's internet fame, and then there's Hollywood fame, right?
Yes, fame is very different now. So if we're talking about fame, as in you're going to get paid for this, as in this could be a full-time job. Let's just say that's fame, because notoriety can be a lot of different things. So if we just stick to a benchmark of this can be a full-time job. Right, just for yourself. Not you're gonna Mr. Beast and have a huge army behind you, but it can deploy you. So two things. So age first. Age doesn't matter.
Okay.
Age doesn't matter whatsoever. I would love for you, and if you're listening to this right now, search Grandma Droniak. DRONIAK.
Okay.
This grandma. Old grandma, millions of followers, right? And she's just genuine grandma talking about things that she's going on. She is adorable. You're gonna fall in love with her, right? In my class, one of the students, the one that had 12, almost 13 million views. The person, she's a entry level at this law firm, and the main subject of this was an older lawyer. And basically all it was him having this issue. There's this challenge where supposedly women can hold a broom and step over it, but men can't. They fall over.
Okay.
Right? There's this challenge. Men supposedly can't step over a broom. And it's just him. It's him trying to step over this broom. But like his character comes around. Like, okay, let me try again. Let me take my shoes off. Let me try it now. Right. Yeah. And I mean, so it didn't matter the age. People fell in love with that character, that person, right? So age doesn't matter whatsoever. And then the second question was that following. Here's a hot take. I would say the direction we're moving into, we're moving away from social media into entertainment media online, right? Where TikTok, it's not social, right? It really is just a new form of cable, right? I would say that follower count could go away in the future. It literally doesn't matter what your following is. The algorithm of TikTok doesn't matter at all how many followers you have. There's nothing whatsoever. There's been a lot of case studies to show this is a brand new account. This is an account that already has millions of followers. Gary Vaynerchuk has proven this. He's big in that social media world.
Right.
Has proven already that it's the content itself. Every single piece of content can live on its own, right? Now, that first level, how things go viral, that first level, even if you look at LinkedIn or any piece of content, that first level, that content gets seen by a grouping of the people who may follow you, right? That could be 1 million people. That could be 40 people. Doesn't matter, right? We'll just give it to a section of your followers. If they engage with it, then we spread it out to the masses.
Right.
Masses.
So it feels like the key indicator is engagement now, right? Where you have to get people to react to the video, which is why at the end of every episode I say, hey, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Well, I don't even know if we need to hit the subscribe button anymore, but then, give me a comment, say something, right? Like that's we should be reminding everybody, just say, hey, great episode, or wow, Keith, you suck. I guess there used to be a thing. There's no such thing as bad publicity. I guess, even in the comment sphere, it's like, if you want to say something bad, go ahead. At least you're saying it, because that clicks the algorithm, right?
And there used to be this unethical hack where you would misspell something on a TikTok, like there'd be some copy on the TikTok. You'd misspell something on purpose just for people to beat you up on not being able to spell in the comments. That used to be a thing for a while. But yeah, we're talking comments, saves, right? So save this for later when, this tactical advice. Obviously likes, or simply you watch the whole video to the beginning again. So you'll notice this, on TikTok.
Oh, I hate those. This is on Instagram where someone will put up a post of a riddle, and then they won't tell you what the answer to the riddle is, and then you have to go to the comments and someone will, and then because someone commented the answer, or they'll play a movie clip and then they won't tell you what movie it is in the description. So then you have to go to the comments and they're like, what movie is this? And then you have to keep scrolling down to find what the freaking movie is. And but those feel cheap. Those don't feel authentic, and that's what bothers me. Are these, and again, they feel like hacks versus real content.
And a lot of those pages that you're referring to that like show movie clips and whatnot, those are really kind of bot farm kind of accounts where they don't really care. They're not trying to build a brand whatsoever. They're just trying to get followers up as quick as possible to get to monetize. And they have 50 accounts, right? They have a bunch of these random accounts. They're not trying to build any specific brand, and then they'll sell them eventually. Yeah. But I wouldn't even go down that path, right? I would think about how can I get someone who also is passionate about this thing to care about it, or something that's just unique for people. Like I've learned, Keith, listen, I've learned so much on TikTok of stuff I didn't even know I cared about just because I've watched a video. Here's the thing. I am not on the life path to ever buy a private jet in my life. Okay. But the amount of private jet videos I've watched on TikTok, I know which one I'm going to buy. I know I know Amalfi Jets just because I watch these videos. So I think it's content.
But when you're watching these videos, do you end up doom scrolling and then sitting there for 45 minutes and you go, God, I just wasted 45 minutes watching something about private jets that I'm never going to own?
But question to this, in the 90s, how many hours did you waste on Friends? Friends didn't help anyone do anything. So I think it's just changing because I hear that quite often. Like, oh my goodness, how many hours are you on your phone? What my students are doing now is they don't turn on the TV. They don't, right? They say, instead of watching Netflix for the next 30 minutes, this is my entertainment. TikTok is my entertainment. Okay. So I think it's just changing. Right, where those eyeballs are going.
The reason I laughed is because my wife and I met over her distaste of the show Friends, and my love of the show Friends. And one of the first times we met each other, I was late because I was watching Friends, and then we went and met at a bar afterwards. And so That's the in joke of our family is that she can't stand the show, and I'm now indifferent to it. I'm not as obsessed with it as I used to be.
Okay,
but yeah,
maybe something did come from Friends then. It started.
There you go.
So maybe that was a bad example.
No. That was a great example. So when you see stuff in your class, that your students are creating, are you surprised by any of it? Do you still get a sense of, oh wow, what a cool idea or what a cool take, and then do you hope it goes viral, or are you still surprised if it does or doesn't?
Keith, I'm pretty much shocked on every single one. I'm shocked when I'll see some content like, oh my goodness, right? Maggie spends so much time on this content. I'm like, oh my goodness, how does that not pop off and get? And then Keith, I had a student the very first week of last semester. This is what she did. She videotaped because it's an online class. So I made this video. Hey, if you get 1 million views, I'm going to send you a big surprise, right? And kind of in this online class. She took a video on her phone, videotaping her computer, and then asking herself, help me blow this video up. Help me get 1 million views. That got 2 million views, and like the Tennessee Titans engaged with them, the New York Rangers engaged. You go, girl, get those views. That got so many views. And it was just simply videotaping her laptop and saying, help me get the prize.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally all it was.
Right. And we've seen versions of that before too. On before the video world, you would see those types of posts on Facebook.
Yeah.
And things like that.
How does that go viral?
Yeah.
Right. And then this huge parody skit where you parody a movie and there's like costumes you made with household items and whatnot. And I'm like, oh my God, that is hilarious.
Nothing.
And no, that's the heartbreaking moment where it's like, oh my goodness, this will never happen for me.
Right.
But then I'll give you one more. There was one that had 1 million views. Literally all it was using a meme that was real big, maybe 6 months ago, of this lady saying, you've just been promoted, right? Oh my goodness, you've just been promoted. It was viral for like 6 days. All he did was put that meme over a deli counter of his local grocery store, because I guess he always waited for the deli. That got 1 million views. It's like, well, awesome.
So it's almost like you're saying that the key to being viral is just be, I don't want to say dumb and stupid, but just be goofy or just be entertaining, I guess is the final answer then, right? Be something that will click with a viewer.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be funny. It can be entertaining as well. Yeah. I've had some that are entertaining. I think here's what the key is. It's not being afraid to be judged. Okay. Not being afraid of what are people going to say if I put this out. No one cares. Yeah. Right? Yeah. No one's going to come out. This isn't, right, olden days of someone's going to bully you for having this. No, not just being genuine. I think this is a good idea. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to find if it gets 2 views or 2 million views. Yeah. I think it's more of that self-efficacy. Now you mentioned earlier too, you were talking about some of the bot farms and bots that are out there. Do you monitor a lot of the AI generated stuff that's coming up? Because, we see stories all the time of there's a lot of AI generated slop that's coming out. A lot of these videos that go viral on TikTok and Instagram might not even been created by a human at some point. And you're just going to start getting more and more, I guess they call it the dead internet theme, where, AI is talking to AI and you're not going to have any real interaction anymore. Like, does that concern you, or is that just going to be part of the world that we live in the future? So I think that's going to happen simply because, AI can absolutely see where attention is at the exact second. It's going to be, they can measure benchmarks of attention quicker than any human can. So finding the memes, finding that short movie clips do very well, those kind of things. AI can do that immediately. But here's the difference. That builds no brand. That doesn't build anything. That doesn't help Pepsi. That doesn't help Oreo. That doesn't help anyone whatsoever. The skill, at the end of the day, that's going to be the home run for Oreo, for Pepsi, is storytelling. Who can do really good story? AI can't. Can they make a story? Sure, but it's going to sound like, every other Big Bang Theory. I'll pick on Big Bang Theory instead of Friends this time. It's like it's the same steps of a general sitcom where humans can do that genuine storytelling. That's going to be the differentiator. Yeah. Right. So I think it's going to be a mix of both moving forward. Do you get to monitor a lot of corporate brands and their social media as part of this class, or or as a side interest? Who's doing it well? Yeah. I'll give some shout outs. So yeah. And then if you want to, who's doing it not well? Yeah. Oh yeah. So we do it for class. I also I do workshops, right? So I go to a lot of these brands, so I can give some examples of brands that I'm working with. I just go for kind of half-day workshops, kind of help with their teams do this kind of thing. Some brands that I would give some love to, especially this idea of just trying stuff. Don't make anything like this idea of making stuff perfect. I wouldn't like the perfect will take you 2 weeks to get to. Duolingo. If you don't follow Duolingo, like it's the learn another language.
Yep.
Okay. Follow the Duolingo app, and you'll see the amount of creative, like AI couldn't do what they're doing. Like what you follow them for a week or just spend 20 minutes. AI couldn't do that. It is humans coming up with some random ideas that does very, very well. I think there's some pro sports teams out there. For a while, I was following the Sacramento Kings, not because I'm a Sacramento Kings fan by any means, but because they were doing just unique stuff online.
Yeah.
I'm a Titans fan. I don't know if you saw this. This was the thing for a while where they would, and people ripped them off and tried it, where they would show people a logo and have them guess the logo that weren't into sports.
Okay.
Right. And the Titans did that. That was unique. They went around Broadway and tried to get people to guess the Bengals logo if they'd ever heard of,
right.
That kind of stuff. That connects with folks.
Yeah.
Right. So I would think if I'm you, I live in the saved folder on my TikToks. I will watch random stuff. I'm not in the private jet world, but when I see something unique, I save it. When I see something unique about how to restore pianos, I don't have a music bone in my body. I will save that. So then when I work with eye brands, like eyeglass brands, like Oakley's and Ray-Bans.
Yep.
I'll go to my save folder and say, okay, where's my inspiration coming from? There's some unique ideas. I won't copy and paste them, but how can I get the creative juices flowing that way? I would recommend that for anyone.
Yeah, you mentioned the sports teams. I think again the Boston Celtics social media team is just outstanding, and I think that the person that was in charge of that went to another team, may have gone to Sacramento or Seattle or one of those other teams, but they still do a really good job of just. Again, they're not just showing highlights. They have other ideas and have done some great stuff too. But yeah, what about any media brands that are out there that are doing this well, or is is the media so far behind because we don't know what we're doing? And don't say my channel because that's just sucking up to me.
Give a plug.
You don't have to give a plug to the Today in Tech show.
I think. When I think about media, is these brands that have emerged, like House of Highlights. I don't know if you follow House of Highlights.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is. But
that's almost a new media brand, right? Like they're creating their own brand. They're not associated with Sports Illustrated or ESPN or anything like that, right?
So, and I'll get to kind of what ESPN has done. So House of Highlights, they don't what we talked about. They're not journalism. None of that content that House of Highlights puts out on TikTok, Instagram. They don't create any of it. They're simply taking content that traditional media is and then re-editing it. It all comes to how do you edit it, right? Editing is more important for social than actual shooting of it, right? Who can edit it the cleanest, the best transitions, the After Effects, etc. And now that House of Highlights is dominated for years, I would encourage pull up the actual ESPN's TikTok. Every time, and again, I only see some of ESPN's. Every time I see an ESPN video on TikTok, the majority is not an NBA game, an NFL game. It's like something random because I like cute babies and animals.
Yeah.
They do something funny.
Yeah.
Right? Because they edit it in that TikTok formation. It's not necessarily the Pacers. It's ESPN leaning into that kind of new age editing. They're catching up.
I want to talk again. This is not going to become a sports podcast, but I do like the NBA on TNT. Their halftime show has an incredible Instagram account, and they're not showing highlights usually. They're just showing all of the goofy stuff that they put on the show in between the breaks. And I'm obsessed with that highlight. Every time they do a new Shaqtin' a Fool, and it's like 5 video clips in one post, I'll just sit there and watch all of them, and I'll watch them over and over and over again, just because it's that funny.
And think of that, those Shaq and Charles and whatnot. I would argue perhaps they are the stars of the NBA right now. Yeah. Right. And it's kind of at this time of the NBA where LeBron, Steph Curry, etc., SGA. I would say Chuck and Charles and those guys, They are some of the biggest brands, but no one said, "Oh, we need to be like NBA didn't say we need to be present on TikTok. Let's go figure out how we can get Chuck and the Big Diesel, right, Shaq,
Yeah.
to do some random stuff and fight with each other
Yeah.
to go on TikTok." That was their jig. We just put them out there, had them fight, have them bicker,
Right.
race to the big board. And then we edit it.
All right. All right. I need to move off sports for a second. So this doesn't become a sports thing. Any other brands out there that really impress you, or in the retail space, the entertainment? I mean, it feels like the entertainment space would be good at this, but maybe they're not, or are they not focused on it because they've got, you've got to get, if you're Marvel, for example, you've got to get people to get into the theaters to watch your movie or your TV show. And you don't have a lot of time to become, viral video type things, right?
Yeah.
Or
other brands I would look at that have disrupted kind of traditional ways. I mean, look what Nike's going through. Nike has had a rough couple of years because they were the top dog when it comes to apparel, especially athletic apparel. But now look at on cloud running, Hoka shoes and whatnot. They've really leaned toward kind of this new media heavily focused on kind of this new age where Nike's now catching up, right? But I mean, they've set themselves back now a couple of years where really good brands that are focusing on this right now. Oreo has always been amazing on social. Like not even recent. They've always been killer. I would follow Oreo for sure. They have always been curious, right? Of any brand that says, I would just want to be curious on what's coming. Reels. If TikTok or Reels ever made a change, like they make changes all the time. Every couple of months, there's a new change of something. Instead of saying like, oh, shucks, there's a change. That sucks. Oreo says, no, we're going to use that thing. Because guess what? When Reels makes a change, they made some new addition, right? A new editing thing. They want that thing to win.
Right.
Instagram does. So anyone who uses that new tool, the algorithm's going to love them.
Yeah.
If you're that curious mind that says, I'm always going to stay up to date with the new changes of these platforms and use them, you're going to win. You're going to win out for sure.
All right. So speaking of the platforms, what are your thoughts on, are they changing? Have they settled into mainstream, adoption at this point? If someone was going to start brand new, I would recommend that they go to a newer platform than try to become a YouTube star, for example. Like, will YouTube eventually drop as a way for people to go viral in favor of some of these other maybe mobile phone type of scenarios? And then what do you tell your students in terms of trying to find platforms that are new? Because this was a great tip, I think.
Yeah, so I think YouTube's not going away, but as far as virality, like to kick off your brand, that's a hard place to start with.
Yeah.
But that's always going to be your second step, just like Substack, right? Or whatever, if you have a blog or whatnot, that's kind of your fandom grows over there, right? On YouTube and whatnot. Right now, really kind of TikTok, that Instagram, but there's always this worry, right? What we talked about this kind of before we started, what's the future of TikTok? Doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter what changes. If TikTok gets banned tomorrow, my class wouldn't change at all.
Okay.
Big Oreo wouldn't change at all. We would just go to wherever the eyeballs are. So wherever the eyeballs are, you just go in that place. Here's a way you can literally find that out week by week. If you just go like every Monday, 10-minute meeting on your schedule, and you pull up your app store on your phone, go to free downloaded apps of the trending downloaded apps, and just look at the top 25. You don't need to make any change. But if you start seeing that there's this Lulu, right, app that comes out in 6 months, and it's like it's number 24, you don't just jump on it. You keep an eye on it. But the next week it's 17, the next week it's 14. Now you say, okay, let me get on there. Let me secure my username. Now it's number 7. Now number 4. Now we're jumping into it. Now you'll be on there. TikTok was in the top 10 downloaded apps for months, a year before a lot of brands even thought to get their username. Right? So I would just open up your app store, see what's on that kind of top 20-ish list. When you start seeing something there week over week, that should spark something with you. I should probably look into this.
Yeah. Dustin, we got to have you come in at some point, and we're going to have you come into the studio, and we'll have a deeper discussion about all this. But I am running out of time. Is this one last question? Is the class pass fail, or do you actually give letter grades on this?
There are letter grades, absolutely. Okay. So it's all broken down. I mean, they even get a meltwater certificate in this class of influence. Here's the thing, like the real side of it, like there's the fun part of it. The real side, a lot of my students are working for influencer agencies. Like these are popping, instead of just social media agencies, they're agencies that just work with influencers, right? So they get certificates in this. They got to find examples and break down case studies of why this campaign worked, why this didn't campaign work. Here's the fun side of it. And you'll like this. Last semester, if you went viral, there was no grade on going viral, right? You had to get the goal was 100,000 views by the end of the semester, right? So almost everyone got to that point. But this million view, I couldn't put a grade behind it. So Keith, let me know what you think. So I said I was going to send you a big gift if you got 1 million views. I sent the first student who got it. I ran out of budget, and everyone else got a hoodie. But the first student got a 7.5 foot blow up gator.
Wow.
University of Florida. It was 7. Yeah. She lives in an apartment in San Diego. So she plugged this huge thing. It took up like her whole living room.
Wow.
I told you it was going to be a big thing. So we try to have fun with it.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it experiential.
Well, you need to connect them with agents too, right? Because a lot of these influencers are starting to get agents just like celebrities now too, right?
Absolutely. And I have close to 12 students now, maybe up to 20, that's what they do full time is they work for they're an agency, right?
Yeah.
They don't do a one-on-one, but they work for an agency and they work on that influencer brand side.
Do you think that a lot of other colleges are going to jump on this too, and they're going to start teaching this at their, like, do you feel like a pioneer because you started this class now?
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be in any history book necessarily, but I'll put one on top of even that. Not only are universities going to look at, content creation, virality, it'll be a major in the future. Now, not next year, but just like radio is a major, this content creation will 100% be a major at most universities that teach, digital communication in the future, 100%.
So we talk
100%.
about like all the jobs of the future. This is going to be one of those jobs of the future, or in some.
There are going to be so many jobs. I mean, influencer is a job title, and community manager and whatnot.
Yeah,
community manager wasn't really a job title, right? Just a couple of years ago. There are going to be more job titles 3 years from now in this world that we don't even have a word for right now.
Yeah,
right? So 100%. It's going to continue to change.
It's exciting and frightening at the same time.
All at the same time. All at the same time.
So Dustin, do you have your own channel? Do you, because again, you've been teaching all of this virality stuff. Do you take some of that and go, well, why am I teaching this? I should go out and do this. Or is it one of those things like, that whole thing about teachers and administrators, it's an old joke. I don't know if you've heard this one. Like those who can do, those who can't teach.
No, so.
My mom was a teacher and she told me that joke.
Yeah. So I do have YouTube content. I think that my largest video, I don't know what it is now, is close to, I think it was over 250,000, maybe 500,000 views. But what I love and that has the big views is LinkedIn Learning. So I do these LinkedIn Learning courses because an educator like in me, right? I'm trying to educate the world, whatnot. So I do these videos, and we've got millions of students on that side taking those videos. And I love that. Do I want to be a star necessarily? I want to educate others, and that's kind of my avenue. I love it.
Okay,
Keith, that's what makes me feel good and sleep well at night.
So you're not doing any of those TikTok dances that we hear so much about.
I am not. All right. I am not.
That's good, because again, I don't want you to hurt yourself, and I certainly can't do it either. Because again, I want there to be room for everything. Like you said, this becomes an entertainment medium, not necessarily, but also an educational one too. I mean, I hope that people are learning stuff when they watch our shows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's self-efficacy. You can do this. Try it. Get out there.
All right.
Post something today.
Yeah, exactly. Dustin York, again, thanks again for being on the show. I hope you had a good time. I know I did, like, learning a lot of stuff.
I plan to come visit in Boston.
All right.
I'm ready.
Cool. All right.
I'm getting my plane ticket.
Awesome. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any thoughts you have below. Engage. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.